That's perfect.
Okay.
Oh,
My head's a little weird.
maybe, yeah. Can you angle it a little bit right as I went live?
Did you go live? Are we live?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, that's good.
that's it. Okay, I'm
Yeah,
sitting on
that's
my feet.
perfect. Wonderful. I'm
Okay.
just gonna double check that people can see us with our snafu this morning. I know I went a little bit live just so I'm not eating into the broadcast time and so we can get this kicked off. I know you're staying busy, Commissioner Kraft Tharp, and so very grateful that you're able to fit this in into your busy day. I know I great. I see Lauren on here already with us. We're just going to give this a couple of minutes for people to see that we're live and can join us. This is our Friday segment once a month when we have the opportunity to hear Jefferson County updates from our County Commissioner, Kraft Tharp. So if you are with us or just starting to join us, please be sure to give us some hellos in the chat. You can also react to this video so we know you're tuning in. And we'll begin here momentarily. Great. I do see Dave Carpenter already on here with us with a quick good morning. Hello to our commissioner and myself. Good morning to you, Dave. I also see Lauren. Hello, Lauren. Thanks for joining us on our segment. Let's just take care of the quick kind of housekeeping. For those of you that may not be aware, we have live broadcasts on Mondays and Wednesdays, generally to allow you to hear updates from our city. On Wednesday, it is so you can meet some of the faces behind our local businesses that have come into our fold most recently that you can learn about and hopefully do business with. And then one time a month, we have an update from our Jefferson County Commissioner on all the things going on at our county. Now, the way that you can help make this a very engaging and successful broadcast is by hitting the share button on this video so others in your network can see that we're live, can also join us. You can always engage with this video directly. You can do it in a couple of ways. One is to react to the video, even if it's an angry emoji because you're pissed about something that we're talking about. We still want to see you, still want to recognize you've taken the time to be on here with us. You can always comment, and comments can be any pleasantries you want to share. They can be questions that you want us to get to, or maybe remarks on some of the information that our commissioner does speak to. If you are viewing this on Facebook, if you're viewing it on YouTube, all of those functions are still available to you at your fingertips. It will still pull up on our end to be able to go through. Now, the last and final piece I want to emphasize is that if you're not already following our pages, if you're on Facebook, be sure that you not only like the page, but you're following us. If you're on YouTube, you can subscribe to the channel. Doing so allows us to save that time at the start where I wait for the notification to pop up. But also doing so allows you to continue on with your day, and then you'll get kind of that little notification that we were live or are going live. So thank you to those of you that are joining us later on, whether it's the afternoon, evening, or even this weekend, for getting caught up. The video section has all of the videos that we've held to date, so you can binge watch to your heart's content. Now, Commissioner Kraft Tharp, I know that you are staying busy. You're at our state capitol right now, so I want to turn this over to you. You've got a great list for us to cover. Let's hear all the good things that you want to have us hear, and maybe the not so good things. But let's get our people updated on all the things that we should know.
Sounds great. I'm also live streaming this on Tracy for Jeffco on Facebook, so people can also connect it there. Hopefully, this will work okay today. I'm at the state capitol. I'm part of the Sales and Use Tax Simplification Task Force. We're meeting today. We're talking about bills to be introduced in the legislative session this year. And so I snuck out of the room to be able to do this, and we'll sneak back in when we get done. So thanks so much. So before I jump into my list, I always like to play a little game I call Guest Going Rogue. So this guest is going rogue. Juliet, what's your status? How
I
long do I have
know.
you?
I know it's so, and now it's even sadder because we're getting so close to the wire. I'll be with the chamber for another 2 more weeks. So we've got so many great things coming up. Next Tuesdays are a candidate forum for all three of our school board districts that we have. That'll be moderated by Dave Carpenter. You'll probably note that either our government affairs chair or our lobbyists have been handling a lot of those, not just because I won't be around. I just want you guys to become familiar with who are the people that have been in the background doing some of the great work to make this organization go. So that's next Tuesday. Then we have the Taste of Westminster, and it'll be my last and final taste with Westminster. At least running it. I might be back to, of course, try out as an attendee.
You
right?
can come back. I will buy you a ticket.
Yes, I love
Yes.
this. There's so much incentive to do so. So that is coming up the Thursday afterward, and that's November the 2nd. Here's the fun thing about this, Tracy. This year, it is featuring the Entrepreneur for a Day program, which is our effort to get kiddos to think about owning a business and from concept to reality. They're going to have a food service concept that they present as a storefront in the kind of the foyer area over at the Ice Center. So as you're entering the building, you'll see some of those kids that are set up with their food service concept. You can try them out and contribute to their cause, and then go in through the doors for our normal Taste of Westminster event. So if you've not been, this is by far one of our wildly attended events from 5 to 8. Tickets are available online for you. And then I'll, of course, be here the week after fully, and then gone after that. So we are down to the wire.
What's the status on hiring somebody?
Oh my gosh. Well, Tracy, we've had, for those people that are curious, we've had hundreds of applicants, literally over 300 plus applicants. I know the selection committee has been working tirelessly to properly vet, be fair, move along the right candidates through the process, and really dissecting the resumes that we've had. And just so you're aware, for all of you that are tuned in, we have had super high caliber people apply for this position. I could not be more proud to see this slate. And at the same time, I'm like, how many of you were waiting for me to, right? Like how much did I stir up and bring this upon ourselves? But no, truly, several hundreds that have applied through. There'll be a formal report on that, but know that we are going through the process of interviews. There's a really dynamic group that's looking at this, from experts in business, policy, governance to leadership. And I know that each of them are able to bring their lens, their experience, and their perspective to the table. So when that right candidate is identified, we'll be, of course, making a debut. But part of it, Tracy, I know that they have been thoughtful. This is not something, I mean, as an organization, we are so pivoted to continue on such a successful momentum that there is no need for them to rush the process on who comes in. Whoever does come in, it'll be after the programs and events really run for this year. So we've got a little bit of that time where it's completely okay for us to kind of groom that next person into a successful reign.
Very true, and I'm honored to be part of that process and can verify everything you said. We had over 300 applicants, some amazing, amazing people.
Yes.
And nobody like you, Juliet.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, and they shouldn't feel like they have to be, honestly, because everyone should come in with their own unique skill set. And I've always echoed and emphasized this, and you see it with surrounding organizations like my peers in Arvada and some others. Those are also dynamic leaders that are there, and you reflect the community. You take on your initiatives and you use the skill set you have to really propel the business community forward. So it's not a one type of personality that needs to be in the role or one type of look. It really can be anyone that's got that passion, purpose, and drive to be better and do better for the community that we're in.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, I'm still in denial. I'm still totally ignoring it, and will continue to do so for the next 2 weeks.
All right. I'm right there with you. My water got taken this morning, though. My water company came in and took my water. Oh, I'm starting to feel like this is a little real.
Well, that's a little tacky. They should have waited.
Right? I thought so. It was like, at least you could have given me some grace in this process. We
Right.
do. Mayor Pro Tem DeMott has snuck in into our broadcast and is giving you a quick warning message. Thank you, Dave, for being on here with us. And I also see you, Ken. Thank you for viewing this broadcast.
Okay, so we're ready to jump into the list.
Yes.
So I want to say hello to everybody that's joined us and encourage you, ask the tough questions, okay? Hopefully I've put together a good list of interesting things happening in the county, but really looking forward to some tough questions. First thing is the county is in the middle of our budget process. So as you know, we spent the summer hearing from all the different departments and their requests for what's called decision items, new funding items that they want. A draft budget was put together in September, in which the commissioners did a tentative vote on that draft budget. The budget was presented at our commissioner hearing last Tuesday, and it was open for public hearings. Sorry, there's people
Hey,
watching.
you're okay.
We're in real land world where people are
Yes.
talking. The budget will be presented for a final vote on November 14th. I'll tell you, it's a tough budget. It started out with a $20 million deficit. Budget items were approved. This will dip into fund balances and capital reserves and the federal ARPA dollars to be able to have a balanced budget. So that budget is online at jeffco.us. And so encourage people to take a look at it, send your feedback. We really want to hear from you. Okay. So speaking of money, did you get your check this last week?
Me?
Yeah.
Well, I did not, because I'm not a homeowner. I'm a renter. But if we had available opportunities in the housing market for me to transition into ownership, I would have.
I hear you. I hear you. You're right. So anyone who pays property taxes received a Tabor refund check from us this last week. That check was around $118. So some below, some above, depends upon how much taxes that you paid. So I've talked about this before. This based upon the increased valuation of people's homes, property taxes went up this year. This county received an additional $42 million because of the increase in property taxes. We are returning up above our Tabor limit. We are returning $39.4 million back to taxpayers. So the average check is about $118. I think the range is about $30 to about $40,000. There are people who do pay a lot of taxes, businesses like Excel that pays a lot of taxes. So their refund, of course, is higher. I've received a fair number of emails and responses, and we had a CBS News story questioning why we sent checks and a flyer instead of decreasing the mills. I will take responsibility for that. I advocated for that when I came on as a county commissioner. I believe that when we reduced the mills, nobody knew. I didn't know that there was a Tabor refund. So I think it's worth it to send the check. There's a lot of people that have moved to the county since Tabor was passed. They don't have the vaguest idea what Tabor means. So it's our duty, our responsibility to educate them. I believe that the flyer that was sent out was neutral, was non-biased, was not propaganda, as some people have said. If you disagree, email me and let me know what you think was not biased, because I think everyone's perspective is probably pretty important. Okay. Any questions, Juliet?
I don't see any questions, but I will echo this. I think part of the world that we're in today is the lack of access to information and us just not having a knowledge of some of the things that are around us. And I always speak to, you don't know this, but I've always said, the direct deposit almost killed even educating people on where their dollars are going, right? And it's people
Yeah.
don't actively go out of the way to find out that paper trail or find out where it's going. And so I think there's value in educating people on all the things that we are contributing to all and impacted by.
Right. No, I
Mhm.
absolutely agree.
Mhm.
Definitely. So there is more information about the financial realities of what's happening with the county on our webpage. Encourage people, spend some time there, look at it, send us questions. Really want to be able to hear those. So
Mhm.
one of the questions I've been getting from people is, are we going to put an initiative on the ballot next year to take care of this Tabor dilemma, where every year we have a budget that's in deficit, but we're returning money back to people because the revenue is over our Tabor cap. One of the interesting issues around why we're in this situation we are is during COVID, revenue went down, so our Tabor cap ratcheted down $14 million. So that gave us $14 million less each year than what we had before COVID.
Yeah.
So will there be a ballot question in next year or in a future year? No decision has been made yet. However, what we have decided to do is we've hired a consultant who will help us be able to listen to the people in the community. Last year we ran around, we talked to chambers and different groups around, what do they think about the budget? What do they think our future pathways should be? So this year we're hiring a consultant to be able to help us with that, and then help us move through the process to make a decision. Hopefully, I'd like the decision to be by April 1st, but our deadline is July 30th. If we decide to go to the ballot, um, we would need to look at what would we bring to the ballot.
Mhm.
Wasn't it 2018 or 2019 the county went to the ballot and asked for full debrucing? That did not pass. Last year, the county went and asked, when we get a state grant, can we
Mhm.
debruce that? That didn't pass. I think it didn't pass because people really didn't understand what we were asking. So we probably need to be clearer and work in partnership with people in the community to be able to help
Mhm.
explain.
Yeah, yeah, and I couldn't agree more. Sometimes we've gotten into such a habit lately. I feel like sometimes people will just read a subject as something and think of it one way or another, and they don't look at the rest of the content that follows it and what it truly means. And I know we saw it in some of the local questions that we had, particularly around marijuana facilities and their operation in their city, and you had some that had voted for it but didn't vote for the other component that triggered it to not even pass if that one didn't. So there's a lot of that that goes on and a lot of subjects that aren't necessarily sharing exactly the details that are back there for people.
Right, definitely. A couple more things on that Tabor check that everybody else got. One is the question that I've been getting is, can I send it back to you? You have a deficit. Can I not? Can I send it back to you? No, you cannot. Here's the problem: is that if you send it back to us, it's revenue, and it counts as revenue that will increase our revenue up and beyond our Tabor cap for next year. So sorry, I know you think that might help, but it won't help. Here's what I suggest that you do with that Tabor money. Our small businesses and our restaurants are in trouble. I
Mhm.
went and ate at a really, you know, a good restaurant in Old Town Arvada. I go there for lunch quite a bit. I was there on a Friday afternoon for lunch. I was the only person there. Restaurants can't survive like that.
Oh,
We
sure.
really need to be supporting them. So take
Mhm.
that Tabor check, whether it's $30 or whether it's the 40,000. And I'm asking you, please support our small businesses,
Mhm.
support our restaurants. Let's keep the economy going. Let's keep jobs going.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. We're seeing a lot of that in our food service providers, and the irony to it is that they were actually doing quite well, all things considered, and during COVID, at least with their takeout and with the focus. And then it was almost like the rug was pulled out afterward with the rise in costs all around the inflation that we're experiencing. I know people are stretched a little bit, and if you have the money and it's in excess and you're wondering where to put it, I wholeheartedly support Commissioner Tharp's comments and put it in our local economy that keeps us going.
yes, good. So the last thing I want to talk about is a couple different items that are happening at the airport. So Rocky Mountain Metropolitan Airport is in the north part of Jefferson County. It is owned by Jefferson County, um, and it is what's called an enterprise, meaning that their revenue and their expenditures need to be self-sustaining. So the more money they make does not make the county rich. The more money the county has, they cannot use that in the airport. So there's a lot of people that question: Is the airport doing that to make money? Do they want to be rich, or is the county trying to make money off of them? No. So the airport is self-sustaining. It's called an enterprise. But there's a couple good news that I would like to share about what's happening at the airport. So I sit on as a member representing Jefferson County Commissioners in Jefferson County, the Community Noise Roundtable, and Mayor Pro Tem Demont does too. So he might have some things to comment about that. The Community Noise Roundtable is a committee of local communities that the FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration, has set up to be able to, as a mechanism for communities to be able to talk about and come up with solutions on airport noise that is affecting surrounding neighborhoods. So that was formed here in Jefferson County in February 2021. We meet every month. I'm the member representing Jefferson County. Dave DeMont's representing Westminster. There's also, let's see, Broomfield, Superior, Lafayette, Louisville, and then Boulder County are all members of this. So we've been looking at the noise issue. One of the difficulties, complicating factors involved in dealing with issues like noise at the airport is that the airport does not have control over the airspace. So Tracy cannot go out to the runway and tell planes where they can fly and where they cannot fly. The FAA, the feds, they have control over all airspace. Airspace is kind of like a highway, so it gets built, but then you can't restrict it to all blue trucks or all motorcycles can't ride on it, or they only have to be a certain in certain hours. So any restrictions need to be approved through the FAA. So that's kind of a little bit of background. So we've been looking at noise issues for the last 2 years. Jason Servo, who is one of the trustees in Superior, is working with the FAA and the flight schools, because the flight schools have those little planes, and those little planes are the ones that make that noise that drives everybody crazy. So he's been working with them around a voluntary program in which pilots would voluntarily utilize the south runway at night instead of the north runway. And taking off on the south runway then changes their flight path of where they're flying, and it would move them away from flying directly over the Rock Creek community. So what that would do is that would decrease the amount of noise at nighttime. One of the things I've heard from people is, just let me have a good night's sleep. So hopefully this process would let people have a good night's sleep. Um, the flight schools voluntarily started changing their usage of the runway September, I think it was the 18th. So since then, we have seen a 67% compliance rate, meaning 67% of the planes that are flying between 10 o'clock at night and 6 o'clock in the morning have voluntarily utilized the other runway. We have received emails and phone calls from people saying, thank you, thank you, thank you. It is quieter. We have received emails, and I've gotten some Facebook postings from people who say, it doesn't make a difference. This is too little of impact, so they're not impressed with it. But for those people that have been able to get a good night's sleep, I'm glad. And thank you, Jason. Thank you, the flight schools and the airport, to be able to work that through. They're now really looking at, can they extend that to other times? But that's good news. That's progress. That's really moving forward.
And it's progress within. You've described this for folks before. It's progress within what they're able to do because they're so controlled and guided by the FAA that in the past there hasn't really been that opportunity to shape that up. So I think this is a solid example of valid concerns or concerns brought up from community members, however you'd like to view that, right? And trying to do and be a good player, a good neighbor as much as possible.
Absolutely, definitely.
Mhm.
The other thing that is in progress is the community noise roundtable that I just talked about
Mhm.
has hired a consultant to look at where is the noise impact in the local communities and um, what flight paths could planes voluntarily take that could move around those impacted areas. So our consultant is looking at egress and degress. So where the angle that planes go up, the angle that planes go down. Can we change that egress and degress so that maybe planes are not quite follow are not flying quite so low over local neighborhoods, or maybe they're not over those neighborhoods at all. And then we would make that recommendation to the FAA because anything that's mandatory would need to be through the FAA. Voluntary compliance does not. So our consultant is working on that right now. So we'll have that in the future. But the other big good news about the airport that I want to share, Juliet, while we still have time,
Yes.
is recently the EPA has issued notices that the lead from airplanes, especially the small airplanes, can be dangerous to human beings. So, I don't know if you
Mhm.
remember, but years and years ago,
Yes.
we dealt with lead in cars, and that's
Mhm.
why we now use unleaded gas. Well,
Mhm.
now the EPA is looking at that for airplanes. So, Congress, this is a federal issue, as I said. So, Congress is passing a bill reauthorizing the FAA office. But in that reauthorization, they are saying that it's mandatory for airports to sell leaded fuel until 2030. The reason why they're doing that is there's 19,000 airports in the country, and we want to make sure that airplanes have the time to be able to transition over to the unleaded. Remember,
Mhm.
your cars had to transition
Mhm.
over years ago. Airplanes will have to transition over. And those businesses that sell gas at airplanes, at airports, will need to transition also. However, this is the good news. Rocky Mountain Metropolitan Airport is not waiting until 2030. We don't sell the gas,
Mhm.
but we have two businesses on site that do sell the gas to all of our jets, all of our airplanes, and our flight schools. It will be very expensive for those businesses to be able to transition over. The infrastructure that's needed
Mhm.
is very expensive. So our airport, ta-da, we bought a truck. We bought a truck that can be used for unleaded gas, and we are working with the FAA about buying a fuel tank and having that installed. We believe that we will be able to have the infrastructure ready for the what's called the FBOs. That's the businesses that sell gas. For the FBOs to be able to sell unleaded fuel by next fall. This
Mhm.
is years earlier than 2030. This is something that the airport is doing to be able to help
Mhm.
the businesses and the flight schools in this transition because we know it's important, we know it's a health issue, and we know also that it will be very expensive. So we want to help in that progress.
I
So
think that's an
very,
investment. Yeah, that's an
very
investment in
proud of yes,
infrastructure.
I'm very proud of our airport staff that
Mhm.
they saw this as a priority. They invested dollars and they are making it happen. So
Yeah.
yay!
Yeah, that's a yay. That's actually a great note for us to end on. I'm almost afraid to do a recap, but for those of you that are tuned in with us later on or have hopped on and off, we have Commissioner Kraft Tharp with us, who's giving us updates on selection committee, on budget for the county, on Tabor checks and the refunds, on the notice that was included along with those checks. We've even talked about the budget date that's coming up here in November 14th, jeffco.us page that you can find the budget and additional details. Then we went into a little bit more about the Rocky Mountain Metro Airport and some of the investment that they're doing to offset the lead that has raised concerns in gas, especially over the recent years in our cars and now moving into our airplanes. We even talked about some of the benefits that have come out of the noise roundtable that include a consultant to assess the egress and the degress, all the way to alternative paths for some of our providers, our flight schools that are out there trying to churn out and educate some pilots for the need that we have and the demand in the markets, and some great things that have been coming around from all of these voluntary approaches that these schools have taken, all the way to the investment that the county is making to try and support this transition in the fuel prior to the actual year that it comes down the pipeline. Hopefully, I've done my best to summarize this up. I encourage you all to hit the share button on this video so others in your network can see it. I do want to give a quick shout out to KUHS Denver Henry, my producer that's here, for allowing me to use his space and keep this running for us. We had a question that came through in the last second, so I'll quickly pull it on the screen from us, Commissioner Kraft Tharp. It is related to the Jefferson Parkway. Do we have any remarks we want to make on this before we exit out?
So just very briefly, what's happening on the Parkway, as you know, the city of Broomfield pulled out of the project. It's Arvada, Jefferson County, and Broomfield. City of Broomfield pulled out because we believe that there are dues that are owed, as well as other promises. It is in court right now. And so we are working through the court process to be able to negotiate the remittal of those, and hopefully we can come up with a pathway to what's going to happen with the Parkway in the future.
Thank you for that question, Dave, and thank you to all of you that are tuned in. Stay with me, Tracy, as we exit this out, and I can't wait to see you again here in a few days.
Thank you all.